boats and campers and trailers on there, and some of the damage is still there and unsightly, and ours is gonna be a small triplex. It's gonna be my primary residence. My wife and I are gonna live there. That's a picture of the outside, except the color is wrong. And this is basically what we like to put there, and I didn't want to make anybody upset or mad or nothing. Everybody's been real friendly that I talked to on the block and around the neighborhood. And we just try to build a nice place to live and have something for an income. Does anybody want to ask a question?
Is there any reason you wouldn't consider a duplex instead of a triplex, which would put you in the correct
Well,
spot for?
the duplex would be okay if we, but it just, we're looking at income, what my medical needs and all are. And so we'd just like to put in a triplex because it just increases the income, and because I have 12 grandchildren, that way I can rent one unit out and still have my grandchildren come in and visit.
Is your planned structure one story? Well, I can't see if it's 2 stories or not. You don't have to bring it all the way over.
Was it
It's
one
okay.
story?
Just answer.
Yes, sir, it's one
I'm just
story.
asking, yeah.
It's ADA, it's because I'm handicapped and I've been in Shepherd so long, I know a lot of handicapped people I want to invite down, and they deserve a vacation too. But it's a one story. I want to do the ICF construction walls to make it strong, and
If this gathering decides not to okay your variance, would you still be willing to have a home here if you could only have a duplex?
well, I own the home, the property,
Right,
but I would really,
but that isn't my question.
I know,
I was
I
like the
know,
answer to that question.
I'm not gonna sell it. I love the community, but I would like to have a
Right.
triplex, and I intend to help rebuild as much as I can to help the community come back. We went to the fundraiser for the pier, and we go to all the places.
I understand.
How many square feet will be in each unit?
Each unit is 1,100 square feet, except for my unit, the owner's unit, is 1,500 square feet. They're all 2-bedroom.
Is there a possibility you could cut back on the square footage? I don't know, how close are we here, Margaret?
No, the square footage is not the problem. There's plenty of room. The stipulation in your code says in order to 6 units per acre.
Okay.
So that would be 3 units per half acre, and we're just missing it by about 5.5 feet. And the right of way is so big on Florida, it's 44 foot, and I wanted the variance so I could have it there, but it would be requiring an easement or variance on the Florida Avenue side.
But you do have the option of building a duplex.
Well, that's my fallback. I'm gonna live here if I just have to pitch a tent. I just want wanna be able to have an income also with it.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions from the board?
I've got one other question. I don't fault the gentleman for what he wants to do and, you know, that kind of thing. But, if I looked at the Bay County property appraisers, the double lot is at .39 according to the plat book,
Right.
which is not just a little couple feet away from being a half acre.
Are there any other public comments? Anyone? Okay, I got this gentleman first.
Yeah, my name's Terry Harrison. I live on 206 Mississippi Drive. My wife and I bought the place back in 1998, and we survived Hurricane Michael, as well as some of our neighbors, and we're glad that we're in one piece and that we're building it up the way that when we moved here we had a vision, because it was what it was, and we'd like to maintain that. I can only speak for myself and my wife, but our feelings are strong that what the variance is there for a reason. I say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. His intentions might be good and welcome neighbor, but people can change their minds, things change. When you have a triplex that you want to plant in a residential neighborhood, it changes the dynamic of the neighborhood.
Well, it's zoned for, the zoning is in there, it's appropriate for a triplex.
If it fits.
If it fits.
Mhm.
It's a very large lot.
Yes.
Even with a large lot, it still doesn't fit, the way I understand it.
Well, yeah, the
My-
structure fits, the
What?
3 units don't.
I gave you your time to speak. Please allow me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. When you start changing the dynamics, if it's a residential neighborhood, and whatever your initial intention might be, the facts are still the facts, that if it becomes a triplex, that's that many more cars coming in, that's that many more outside people that are not residents, whether they're part-time or full-time residents, and you're going to go in and change the dynamic. That changes things fundamentally for those who are already here. I say if the rules are where they are, where the variances are the way they are, then I say you step on a dangerous precedent when you start to change things. And please make sure, if you do have reasons to do it, you know what those reasons are going in. I show kindness to people that want to come in, rebuild our community. I think it's a great idea. If they come in with the idea of this is what our community is, please don't come in and change it. Little ideas, we'll talk about it. That's what we're all about. But I really want to go ahead and ensure that you don't fundamentally change who we are and how we are, and putting a triplex that is too big to fit in a residential neighborhood is a bad idea. Thank you.
Any gentleman here?
Yeah, I'm neighbor Kitty Collier on my land. And I've been here since '90. And, you know, I'm sure they're wonderful people. But I have a serious problem, like Terry said, with the dynamics. You change the dynamics in a neighborhood, and then, oh, gee, I gotta sell mine, or else I'm gonna request a duplex on my property. It's not big enough. And he's talking just a smidgen. Well, it's not a smidgen. It's over 20% that he's asking on this variance by his own request. I think he put .39. Well, that's a long way from .50. I mean, you're talking 20%. That's not a smidgen. That's not a little bit. And I'm also like Terry. Yeah, I'm sure he's got great intentions. I spoke with the man the other day. I too am a Vietnam vet, and I'm also disabled. But I'm not gonna come into a neighborhood and change things to the point that it does change the dynamics in the neighborhood. I mean, to me, it's absurd. A duplex is fine. I don't even like the idea of a duplex. He's got 2 lots. Why can't he just go by the codes put two separate dwellings. That way, if there is another storm, God forbid, then we have nothing but problems with duplexes, condominiums, multiple dwellings. One person doesn't like it, and eventually it's gonna be sold. We all know that. We're not stupid by any means. I think what he's doing is wrong. Okay, give him the opportunity to build there. I hope that one day we'll be great neighbors. I just don't agree with the man. I think he's wrong, and I think you as a board have a responsibility to the entire community, not the wishes of one.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Comments?
I would just like to ask, because I'm new here and I'm not trying to,
Can you state your name?
my name is Debbie Wallflower, I'm Charles's wife.
My wife.
And my question is if we bought the property and it had been big enough, it's zoned for a triplex, everything is done, we have it all in place, then what? We would build it. You see what I'm saying? We're just asking for a little space, and I do understand everyone's arguments, but changes are gonna come. There's several lots available in the area. People will build up three things. I'm saying you can't stop change from happening because it's gonna come. And if we manage it in the right way and we make sure it's done correctly, which he's done his due diligence about everything. He knows the codes, he knows everything that needs to happen. We want to be responsible members of the community. We want to do everything according to the law. We don't, we're just asking for a small bit of help here. Because if we would have bought a lot that was exactly a half acre, we'd be putting it in and there would not even be a discussion because it's all in the codes. Exactly.
But you knowingly bought a lot that didn't fall under those codes. So
Well, we
that's-
actually didn't know until we bought it because of the fact that we had to have the,
Well, you said he did all this diligent search. Obviously, he didn't do a very good job of it. Because he knew.
Well, you made your point, I think we understand your position, is there anyone else?
My name's Ron Wilson. My parents, Kay and Billy, built the place right next door that backs up to the property that they have, it's Yellow House, 202 6th Street. There's a vacant lot beside us on the corner, who the gentleman who lives over in Carabel has had for years and years. And it's been two lots the entire time we've been, since 1993. Okay, my mom and dad in 2000, they built the house, asked for a variance, and the board at the time turned them down because they wanted to put stairs to the upstairs on the side of the house, and they wouldn't give it to them then. The codes that are in place have worked. I don't think anything that anybody in this room could disagree with the codes that we have in place right now. They've been very good in that neighborhood, we feel like, since we came here, and watching how it developed over the years. There's two lots over there. I don't have a problem with, two separate dwellings, just like it is on our corner, right? My house and the vacant lot next to me. With the duplex coming in, I think that just changes everything in our entire neighborhood. And like Jim brought up, so the person down the street now sees it. He got a variance over there. We're gonna sell our property and we're gonna get a triplex over here too. And it just changes everything. I like the dynamics of what we have right now in our neighborhood. It's been very nice to live in, and we've raised kids and grandkids are coming now. I just think leaving it like it is.
I think we have your position.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? One more.
Well, due to the social distancing, I have emails from a couple of residents that we're just going to read. Mr. Beeman, he's in Mississippi Drive, and he's opposed to the variance request. And then I also have Lisa Logan, who's also not able to make it, and she's also opposed.
So I think that.
Could I wouldn't mind stepping outside to see if anybody else wants to come in and say something.
Yeah, that would be great.
And I'll do the same thing.
Appreciate y'all understanding.
Thank you.
someone have a zoning map here?
I've got one.
Okay, I think we're good, they're all shy.
Thank you, appreciate that. All right, well, that closes the public comment portion. Before we move to board discussion, can we ask for the staff recommendation of comments?
Staff recommendation was to deny. I think it was the very first, stipulation on the standards of review was that, if a variance request is too density, then it be denied. I think that was number one on the standards of review, so.
All right, well, at this time, board discussion.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree, you know, we've been pretty, I think we have done quite well on variances and not approving variances. I think if you look at the records, this is the case. I don't know what mean that we have really approved. And I understand the gentleman's dilemma about the triplex, but change is gonna happen, no question about it. I mean, it's in the wind, it's gonna happen. But we put these variances or these ordinances in place for a reason, to control that growth. And so that we're not overcrowding and we're not going into right-of-ways and all that stuff. So while I sympathize with the gentleman, I'm not really in favor of approving the variance.
Any other board discussion?
Well, it sounds like that this may be something that we wanna look at as far as the way it's zoned, because somebody, if they have enough property, they could certainly come in and put up 6 houses if they have an acre, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
according to
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If they own the property, they could put up 6 houses.
Yes, if they own an acre, they could put 6
A
houses,
half
that's
an acre,
correct.
they could put 3.
That's right. Yep, and with their
So-
property now, they could put a duplex
Yeah,
or
Or
4
a
houses.
triplex.
All the people that's opposed at this point, they would still be opposed, but they couldn't do anything about it.
Correct.
By right, they could put it there.
By right, they would not need the variance.
Exactly.
Right.
So that sounds to me like something that the neighbors, that neighborhood, you know, may want to, try to do something about it. I don't know, but as it stands, since he's got an option of building a duplex, I would be opposed to the triplex.
Have you thought about that?
I'll say this, I live on Florida, and I would want to see this be approved. When we came here, we did a lot of investigating, and we came to Mexico Beach after reading the codes, and we did everything by the code. And once we start opening the door, then everything just goes crazy. So, unfortunately, that's true. You know,
Sir, one thought that I had was, seems like your objectives are to build your personal residence and also to maximize your income. But to live within the variance or within the ordinance as it stands, have you thought about doing a duplex that rather than 3 at 2 bedrooms, you do 2 of them at 3 bedrooms and you do improve your income position somewhat?
One is going to be our house, where we're gonna live, so that we just give one income. And the lot is so big, it's 0.39 acres.
And we understand
And
the size of it.
it's that, but if you look at like 3 feet on one side and 5 feet on the other side, because it goes back 112 feet and because it comes across 150 feet, that square footage makes it the triplex. But, whatever y'all decide, we trusted God and we just let y'all and God handle the details.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we disapprove the request for variance on 201 Mississippi Drive.
Second? You have a second?
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Ms. Metcalf?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Driver?
Yes.
Mr. Masters? Ms. Lindsay? Ms. Bush? Mr. Bush?
He's not. Okay, so. The motion for variance is denied.
Here's that last word.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is 414A Highway 98. Could staff give us an overview of that request?
This is, the typical common wall variance that we've seen numerous times, where, the people aren't going back in the same footprint. So they want to extend their home out to the front and the rear. And in this case, they're not actually going all the way to the property line. They actually have a little over 5 feet of setback there. But it was a duplex prior to the storm. A is coming back, B, they don't know what's gonna happen with B, but they're here for variance because they wanted to extend out towards the front and the rear. Not going back in the same footprint.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this? Any emails or things that we need to know right now?
But there's
Yeah.
something here in the, sheet that we were just given from Lisa Logan, it's the third paragraph,
Oh,
and and I have to admit, I was confused by the request as well. It says they're going 7.5 feet into the western.
They have, on their western side, they actually meet the 7.5 foot setback.
Okay. Then
On the eastern side, they're asking, let's see, let me make sure I say this right. Yeah, on the eastern side, they're asking for 5.7 feet of that 7.5 feet. Because remember, because they're not in their existing footprint, now they have to meet two 7.5 foot setbacks, one on either side.
And this is where there would normally be,
Okay.
if we wait till after May 12th, there would be a zero setback.
Right.
Say that again?
Yeah.
If this particular variance had waited until after May the 12th, when we have the next meeting, we will have opened up the townhome lots so that they have a zero lot line.
At 414, Highway 98?
I believe so.
I don't know if this particular property is on that map or not.
Okay.
I haven't checked.
Again,
to
I
see.
thought it was one of those zero lot lines.
It is, but it happens to be in low density residential,
Yeah.
this one does, so it probably is not in
It
that,
may
on
not
that
be
one,
then, no.
yeah.
Okay, so now, they are going to have, how much is the setback going to be if we're approved on the eastern side?
On the eastern side, 1.3 feet, is that right?
So then what is the other, what happens when the other person wants to build? Now you've got potentially 2 feet between them, 2 or 3 feet between them.
Right,
And you, I mean, for.
they'll have to have
fire-
firewalls, I mean, the other one's gonna have to have a 2-hour firewall, is what would have to happen. So previously, they had a common wall, if the other one comes back and does the same thing, then they could be a foot, they could be a little over, 1.7 feet apart.
Well, we haven't heard from you.
They're
This
talking
was townhomes.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but they're
Both
talking about
townhomes went away,
building
so
separate homes now, right, completely?
Yes,
let's
yes.
assume that this is
Yes.
the lot line right here.
Right,
They were built like this,
Yeah.
where the two were touching.
right.
This owner is coming in and building early, and because there isn't someone here, he wants to build it where he's still 2 feet away.
How wide is this lot? I mean, how much, well, my question would be, how much space would you have to build if you met all the setbacks?
How wide?
It's 24 feet wide.
So
Big way,
you
14
take
feet.
15 feet
Yeah.
from that, you got
Yeah.
9 feet.
Right,
Yeah.
so he wouldn't be able to build. If he, to meet the setback, I mean,
Okay,
other than a
but
tiny house.
If we approve this variance, then, obviously when the other person builds, they're
You'll
gonna
have
have,
the exact same issue.
Same,
we're
If
gonna,
you don't give them a variance, they're gonna have a 10-foot wide house also.
but,
I can build right next to your
my
house.
question is, can we require them to put up a firewall?
yes, we will. These people are putting up a firewall and the people
Both
next
will
door.
have to put it out.
Both of
You
them.
also cannot put windows in those walls.
Okay, so then if we approve it, can we go ahead and stipulate that they gotta put up a firewall on the
Yes.
eastern side?
Sure, yeah, you can do that.
It is already.
If you're gonna build it, you gotta put a firewall up.
And we haven't heard from the other person, the other owner?
I talked to her
Stone.
a long time ago, but I don't think she's ready to build yet. She hasn't made contact in a while, so.
That's not that original.
Here's what bothers me, is that if we do this, then we're right back where we just talked about, where everybody's gonna wanna do that, and where does all this end? And what about,
You denied
But
7
we've,
days.
we've, this was already approved before with the 0 lot line. Understand, what we're doing in general is we're allowing people to go back to 0 lot lines.
Well.
Because
that
these
on the
lots are only
same
25
footprint
feet
though,
wide.
too,
Yeah.
But this isn't on the same footprint.
If they were in the same footprint, but in this case, they're not gonna have the same.
Right, but just remember, we have approved many of these already.
Well, my only concern would be the firewall. I mean, if they have, if we stipulate that they gotta put up a firewall,
Yeah,
Did I understand it? Were these two structures, and when the second structure came in, abut each other, or is there the possibility for a small gap between them?
there will be a
There
small
will be a
gap. There will be, because owner B can only go up to his property line. Say he wants to come in to his existing footprint, he can do that up to the property line. And owner A is almost 2 feet away from the property line. So there could potentially be that little gap, or there could be a little bit larger gap. But either way, yes, there'll be some sort of a gap.
but if we don't approve it, we render these lots useless.
Not necessarily. They could bring in a house on the existing footprint,
right, exactly.
or,
Okay.
yeah,
What type of,
whatever,
If we have a 0 lot line.
whatever they want, whatever type of house they want to. I mean, but it would have to be in the existing footprint of that previous duplex.
How much are they extending front and back that goes outside the footprint?
Let me see. It's substantially longer than,
Is it like 5.7 feet of 7.5?
no,
No, that's a
That's
size.
the size. The house is 60 feet long. I don't
Yeah.
know what the prior house was.
I don't know what the prior house was.
But they're not requesting front or back, just side.
But they do meet the setbacks front and back.
They do, yes, and the western side,
Do they meet the impervious?
yes, the mean impervious as well.
so they say in the request that an affinity home has been ordered 15 feet wide and 62 feet long, ready to be delivered. Does that mean that one side of this home has no windows on it?
Correct.
The 0 lot line side of the house or anything less than 7.5 feet would have to be 0. I mean, have no other.
Anything else from the board? Is there a motion?
Well, now, when they say, I didn't read what they had ordered, but apparently they've already ordered a home. Now, are we sure that it's going to meet the firewall standards, the home they've got ordered?
We won't approve it until the
Man,
home
I
meets
hate
firewall
somebody to
standards.
truck in a brand new house and you go walk over there and say, hey, you can't put it here.
You know,
And understand
that's the
a
risk.
requirement for a zero
Yeah.
lot line anyway, so it's, that's already in the code, you don't have to stipulate.
So that's your job to ensure.
That's my job.
That's why the owner of this should, somebody should be here to answer these questions.
You said we have approved these before, I don't recall.
Many of them,
Years.
a lot of,
Zero lot line
Zero.
variances you guys have.
Those are all on like 37th Street.
yeah, beachfront, a lot of
Not on
beachfront,
414 Highway 98.
triplexes, quadplexes.
But is the zoning different?
Yes,
Zoning
this is
different?
low density residential, those are high density residential, that's correct.
What sort of 98 is this on, is it on the south side?
This is right across from
Nope.
dedicated beach, so it's on the north side. It's on the north side of 98.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your recommendation for approval, why?
Based on the approval of the previous
Right.
ones.
Wasn't there something that we discussed at one time about there had to be 10 feet between structures? I know that was,
If you have 10 feet between structures, then you don't need firewalls.
okay.
That's a
but-
fire,
But you can have less than that as long as you have a firewall?
correct.
But doesn't that make firefighting harder for, I mean, I'm just asking, if you've got 2 feet between these two houses, that just seems like a problem.
Yeah, well, they've got to put up a firewall. They want to-
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
alright.
So what would happen, I mean, how would you, if they come up here, you've got 2 feet of space?
It's better than 6 inches, it's better than 1.5 feet, and it's better
I
than
guess you
zero.
could get sideways and just go through it, I mean,
Yeah,
But again, if your other neighbor did 2 feet and you did 2 feet, now it becomes a usable.
well, I feel bad that, you know, because I guess they could go back, but
I think the point you made is that otherwise you almost deny the ability to use this piece of property.
Let me show you on your, there's more than this lot, I mean, this is the area that we're talking about, Oleander 98. And as you go towards the east, I see 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 potential lots that are
they're gonna be
that
like
look like
this.
they're about 20 feet wide, so, it's not an isolated situation, and again, I don't know when these were done that way, but that's when they should have been caught, at this point.
I guess city council has approved these full time.
Again, I don't know what the code was when these lots were divided up to the
Could
levels.
somebody ask Bill for some input?
Bill, do you have any input?
Yes, I looked at the, zoning map, and actually, what we're talking about is zoned for single family only, not duplexes, but, certainly there were duplexes there before. I'm concerned long-term about, that's the tourist, section, as we call it, down 98. I'm concerned that if, person A, who
You know, we can tell them they have to do the firewall, but we can't say you have to close that 2-foot gap connected to make it look like a duplex versus, I don't think we can legally do that.
Or even to the point of
Yeah.
aesthetically designing the second home to look like the first home, so it looks,
Right.
appears to be a duplex
Or
rather
even
than
be in line with each other.
two really
Yeah.
close,
Yeah, what if it's
single
totally
family
different?
homes that are completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, but I mean, what if the next lot owner comes in with a home that's 40 feet, you know, I mean, it's totally different, it's gonna look really odd, having two totally different looking houses,
Right.
3 feet or 4 feet apart.
Can one be 1 story and another one be 3 story?
Keep in
Sure.
mind, they could be 0 feet apart and be completely
Right,
different.
I understand that,
Yeah,
they can be
Yeah.
just shorter
Yeah.
front to back.
And we've inherited a problem, this is not by design. And that's why it does truly fit what this is, which is a variance.
Now, does the other owner understand what's going on?
She's aware, yes.
She's aware.
Yeah. She's aware that
She
there-
has no comment.
No. Actually, the other owner came here for variance previously.
It was denied?
It was denied, but it was a different variance. She was, I can't remember exactly what she was requesting. It didn't, it was before all of the variances were issued based on not going back in your existing footprint. I think she was requesting 5 feet on each property instead of the 7.5. And I think that was both sides setbacks. So it was a different variance.
So it's 2.5 feet either side,
Right.
so.
If they were asking to reduce the 7.5 foot next to the regular lot and reduce the 7.5 foot next to the regular lot, it would not be consistent with what this board has done in the past. What this board has done in the past is reduce the setback when it goes from a 0 lot line lot to a 0 lot line lot. Once it gets exposed to the regular larger lots, I don't believe that this board has ever reduced the setback.
If we approve this, what, it opens up the rest, I mean, the rest of them are basically, I mean, we're going to have to work with them. The rest of them, the ones that you just came up and said, I mean,
Yeah, but again, keep in mind, there were townhomes on those parcels.
Well, right, but the definition by grandfathering in is it has to be built back on the same footprint, so.
yeah, my concern is you're gonna have houses sitting right next to each other that's gonna be totally oddball and they're 3 feet apart.
And it's what it is.
Maybe it doesn't matter, I don't know, but if you could dictate that, okay, guys, both of you come in here, you're gonna do pretty much the same thing, same height and all.
These lots are 300 feet long. By the way.
300 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's from Highway 98.
They're 25 feet wide
Yeah.
and 300 feet long, which is why they wanna move their footprint up or down a little bit, which
Why
isn't
don't you
exactly.
split it 3 ways?
We put one in the front, one in the back.
How do you figure out who's gonna take the front?
The person who wants to build first. I mean, flip a coin, I don't know. But I'm just saying, it's, you know. It's what it is.
Anyone like to make a motion?
Well, Bill, what do you think, what do you think about the chances of the oddball houses?
You already pretty much said, didn't you?
Well, that's really what you had on Pier Road in a lot of circumstances.
as far as how they look and where it goes,
As far as it being, matching the surrounding neighborhood aesthetically and meeting firewall requirements.
firewall, yes. Aesthetically, no. We won't have any kind of say into that.
Okay.
And also keep in mind, the other home could build further up the lot instead of as far forward on the lot. The sky's the limit. It's a 300-foot long lot that is only 25 feet wide. You can make those footprints work with one another, but we can't control how they work with one another. But chances of the lot next door that's also 25 feet wide asking for a variance on that one side is extremely high.
I own it over.
Exactly, otherwise all you're doing is building a 10-foot wide home.
Well, no, actually, they could come back in.
On the
and-
footprint,
and on the
yes.
footprint.
Yeah.
With the other
Correct,
house
that
sitting
is correct.
2 feet away, they could come in on the footprint and build back.
How wide is the firewall, Gina?
How wide is the firewall?
Probably
Yeah, let's say that.
6 inches.
Yeah, 8 maybe at most.
Now they're gonna build, there has to be a firewall that's gonna build close. They're using 2x6s, that's 6 inches, so are we gonna use up that little less than 2 feet to
No,
make it all meet code and then they will be merged, quote unquote?
no, the other owner has to build on their own lot. The other owner will be 2 feet, absolute, the closest he can be to the other building is 2 feet. He can be more than 2 feet, but the closest he can be is 2 feet. And the thickness of the wall all depends on what materials you use. You might be able to do a 6-inch poured in place wall that meets the 1 hour, or if you did 2x6s, you might be at 8 inches with 2 layers of sheetrock and things like that. But again, that shouldn't matter because that's all on the other parcel.
So what would be the disadvantage of having the first person put their house on the line? Therefore, more or less forcing the other person to either go 7.5 feet or match up to the wall there. I guess they could still go 2 feet from where the first person would put it. They can do whatever they want to improve it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I guess my inclination is, looking at it from the other ones we've approved, you almost say, well, what's the difference? It's a duplex, the first person's going up, they're gonna do it, and they should be held up because they didn't have a party wall agreement, and the next person's not ready to go. It's just down the road where we're gonna end up with this big problem.
I'm also wondering if the first owner would somewhat manage the second owner. You would think that there would be some communication of, what are you going to put right next to my property?
Let's just hope in human nature in this deal, Jack, that they come in here and don't build something totally, completely opposite for their own benefit.
But they're not gonna be good neighbors if they don't.
Exactly right. But then again, we can't do anything.
Right.
You're buying on a 0 lot line, you're buying on a 0 lot line, you're gonna have a neighbor.
Yeah.
So is this, one that's coming before us now, is it elevated or is it on the ground?
It'll be elevated.
It'll be elevated.
Okay. I'm just envisioning if one is elevated, the other one's a 2-story,
scenario is if owner A wanted to come back in the existing footprint, but not go all the way up to the property line, they could do that.
They could go small.
They could go smaller. So, what I'm saying is, you could end up with this situation regardless of this variance.
Motion?
Good point, good point.
The 2-foot setback, for all intents and purposes, should not be a bad thing. It allows for some separation, it allows for maintenance, it allows for some things that a true zero lot line complicates things, because now you have to have a piece of flashing between two buildings, and flashing isn't always as clean as two completely separate roofs.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Can I?
Certainly, you can pass the gavel and make a second. So pass the gavel to someone else.
Pass the gavel and then make a second. Okay.
Mr. Hogan?
No.
Ms. Metcalf?
No.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Driver?
Could you repeat what we're voting on?
There's a motion to approve the variance.
No.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay?
No.
Okay, so motion to approve is denied, correct?
Denied.
All right, the next agenda item is a 42-unit residential townhome development order. Town Village Townhomes, Highway 98.
I've seen this guy before.
I'm not used to such an empty room.
Yeah, neither are we.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we had, earlier this year gotten our PUD master plan approved, and adopted at the, city council level. And we are here now with an application for the Villa Town, phase 1 of the Villa Town homes, which are shown, will be shown in the exact same location as they are here on the PUD master plan. And it is phase 1 of 42 units, which will be this first street, down here on the master plan. So we'll have an entry road and then coming down here and around the corner.
Where's that entry road again?
The entry road, so the boat ramp entry road is here, this entry road is west,
Okay, so we'll be separate from the boat ramp.
Yes, it will be
Yeah,
separate.
that was an issue before, right?
Yes, it was having all the traffic come in here, and we actually had relocated phase 2 of the apartments to try and accommodate that, and then we're working with our engineer for a, driveway application for a separate access to boat
Will,
ramp
will
road.
these 42 units have access to that boat ramp road? So if they wanted to use it, or is it gonna be closed off?
They will not have access day 1. It's gonna be totally separate
One road,
initially.
get in and out.
Correct.
Oh.
And, Chris is here to go over the technical aspects and answer any, questions. We can answer any questions you guys might have.
As President mentioned, this application is for 42 townhome units. There are 7 buildings, 7 separate buildings, 6 units per building. The total project area for this phase, which also includes not only the main portion of the townhome units, but also includes basically piping going up to a stormwater treatment pond. All of that area together is 8.26 acres. This project has been reviewed by Panhandle Engineering for utilities, stormwater compliance with all the city codes. Stormwater is provided in 2 separate ways. There is a stormwater pond here just outside of the right of way of 98, where the southern units drain to. That's going to be a shallow dry pond. And then up to the north, just visible here and going off of this view a little bit is a wet detention pond that is designed for the other portion of this development as well as future phases of development. So for right now, it's going to be oversized. We meet all treatment requirements for the city as well as the state. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Utilities, we're proposing a lift station to handle the wastewater, and the water will extend and connect within the city's right of way further to the east. Be happy to answer any questions should you have any.
What, the wastewater treatment pond, what is?
The stormwater treatment pond?
The stormwater
Yes,
treatment,
sir.
what is around that? What properties around that?
Okay, so it's probably best to see here. This is the future stormwater, or not future, this is the stormwater treatment pond that is proposed with this development order that will also treat future development. And this is a large wetland area. This is a large wetland area. So it's kind of tucked into the uplands surrounded by those wetlands, which is why it's a wet detention pond. So it's really just kind of tucked back away in the middle of the wetlands.
What is a property in white?
This property here,
Yes,
that's all wetlands. That is just a hatch that we use to indicate general areas. That is the area that was approved under the apartments. But this large area here in the middle, even though it's kind of divided up into the land uses, this large area in the middle is unimpacted wetlands.
I just want to make sure there wasn't such a housing purpose.
No.
Now, is this all part of phase one, or is this an addition to phase one? I thought phase one was the hotel or the hotel.
Apartments.
So we previously came before you with the overall PUD application approval for
Right.
the whole property,
Okay.
as well as phase one of the apartment buildings, which
Okay,
are
part
here.
of this.
This is the second phase of the overall planned unit development, which is just, these 42 units here.
That's gonna be the
Portion of
first
that road.
thing that goes up?
Most likely, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so we're working on the apartment. We submitted a Clomar application to the city to get signed off on, and then we'll be hopefully breaking ground on the apartments summertime
Okay.
timeframe, and then assuming we get approval for the development order here, we would be moving forward with the site development and the townhouse construction.
Now, the apartments that'll be along the canal or the boat ramp, will they use the boat ramp entrance for that construction?
No, I believe that we had discussed using an alternate construction entrance so that construction traffic is not entering along Bow Ramp. But that was the phase one development order that was approved a few months ago. And so this is a separate application we're bringing.
But there won't be a separate road put in for the apartments. They will use the boat ramp road eventually to get to the apartments, is that correct?
Yeah, but we're proposing to do a second access off Highway 98 connecting into Boat Ramp Road so that the apartment and construction traffic can enter here and the boat rampers can enter not here, somewhere east of there.
But this phase
That's completely different than what they're asking for today.
This phase that we're bringing before you today is a completely separate entrance off of 98. We're on the western side of Salt Creek for this phase.
What would your parking be like? What surface? Concrete, asphalt, gravel?
Both right now we have it proposed as concrete driveways.
Oh, and
What would
So these-
these look like? Go ahead.
We haven't done any architectural drawings yet. They will be 2-story. We
on stilts?
I don't know.
No, we have the finished floor elevations and the grading done for right now for it to be slab on grade.
Okay, and is there an extra is there 2 parking spaces per unit?
Yeah, I believe that is what the requirement is, and we provided the room for the 2 parking spaces per unit per the code.
Thank you.
Yes,
And those 2 parking spaces are outside the garage.
correct.
So you potentially have a bonus of a car in the garage, and you can get 3 cars.
Yeah, I see.
How far off the road are they gonna construct off of 98?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can see a dimension. I can tell you that is going to be.
Will you be able to see them from the road, or is there gonna be vegetation in the way?
There will be some vegetation along Highway 98, but I suspect that you'll be able to see there's something there. It's not gonna be, I don't think it'll be clear cut to where that's all you see is the buildings.
Now, these are going to be purchased homes, right? I mean.
So we haven't decided, there could be some for sale, or we would retain ownership and long-term lease them.
What happens with this lot stuff again? I mean, hurricane, whoever comes along in 20 years and.
Again, these are 0 lot lines. What this development order is approving is a 0 lot line.
But are we going to tell in the future, we're going to state to owners that, look, if you own a 0 lot line, that you gotta think about the future. Are we going to get into the mess we're in now where everybody just kind of does their own thing?
In the future, you're gonna have a 0 lot line, and if I wanna build 2 feet off that lot line, you can't keep me from building 2 feet off that lot line.
So then if somebody buys one of these townhomes, they say, well, that's kind of the dirt on it.
So, yes, they will actually in the dirt
They'll have
owner,
an HOA
but we'll
requirement.
also
Correct.
have an HOA associated with it that will be required to carry the necessary levels of insurance. That if something happens in one unit and the 3 of the 6 units burn down, that everything gets built back.
Thanks.
And also we're contemplating that the exterior maintenance falls under the homeowners association so that we have consistent, building, maintenance for the project.
And to circle back to the question of how far outside of the right of way of 98, we have roadway stationing here, so that's at station 1+00. The actual buildings start just shy of 2+00, so that's just shy of 100 feet off of the edge of the right of way of 98. So we're talking about 85 feet from the right of way line of 98, not from the actual surface, edge of the surface.
Now, with all this construction, is there gonna be a parking lot for trailers, boat trailers and boats?
And I'm not sure I understand.
Well, if you're gonna put in 42 units and then you got the apartments and people come down here permanently or even whatever, with summer, where are they gonna park their boat trailers, their boats?
So we had, talked a lot about this when we went through our PUD application, and we, acknowledged that, boat trailer parking could be an issue. We are consistent with the code and what we're providing for parking, and we have not, identified a separate parking area just for trailer parking. If somebody has a boat in the townhome, then they would either figure out how to park it in their garage or, park it potentially at the boat ramp with everybody else, or park it somewhere else that, makes.
I don't believe that we authorize overnight parking.
No,
And
they
then
basically,
they would-
unless they had some other storage elsewhere,
Yeah.
some kind of commercial storage, then they would basically have to, sacrifice some of their actual physical available parking space to, assuming that the homeowners association doesn't restrict that.
That's what I was gonna say, the
Right.
HOA restricts
Correct.
a boat being in the driveway.
And we haven't drafted the HOA docs yet, so a lot of that will go into that consideration. And, we may at some point identify an area that we could accommodate that for boat and RV storage, or it may happen, somewhere else that, there's a storage
Anything from Bill?
Yes, sidewalks,
Yes, sir, we are proposing sidewalks, connecting from the, north side of the 98 right-of-way, extending all the way through this phase of development and stubbing them out for, the future phase extending to the north. Sidewalks on both sides of the road.
Are they gonna have curbs?
Yeah, the roadway is, it's like a valley curve. It's a curved roadway, with the exception of here at the parking kiosk. That is gonna be, basically a sidewalk on the back with curbs, so that is a raised curb section for protection.
Going down the center of the roadway, is it just a, you know, in and out? Is there going to be any kind of an island in there in between?
No, ma'am. So it's talking about at the actual entrance point
Yes.
or the main road.
Main
It is
road.
not a boulevard. It's just a standard two-lane roadway.
part of the PUD requirements is to have recreation areas, and I don't see recreation area in this phase, or in this order here. And I realize that there's central planning for that, but it's just tough to keep, if we keep approving these one-offs, and there's no parks or anything like that, I don't wanna end up with no parks or anything, so I suggest as you bring these forward, that give us some idea of where the first park's gonna be in or recreation area associated with these 42 units, or are we gonna wait until we get to 52 or 152 or what?
We have some open space as part of this. Chris had mentioned about the stormwater pond going up, and we've contemplated doing a trail network around that. And we've also got a park green space identified on that, and that would probably come online with phase 2, but we could probably get something going on it initially in the early years, because it'll be on the west side of the entry road. I don't know if you have a copy of the PUD, that you can reference there, but we have a place for a park that's pretty close to phase 1.
How much park did you provide in phase 1?
Oh, to the crossings. I might still have those plans.
Just asking if you had more than what you needed for that, maybe it would offset for this.
Yeah.
I do not have those approved plans with me. Wasn't anticipating that. But yeah, we had a large park here in phase 1. In addition to the walking trails and everything around the stormwater pond. But I don't have those numbers with me right now. I apologize.
Just as an option, you could put a caveat that they provide something for the council or something like that, just as an idea.
Bill, would you like to word something there?
Sure. Struggling a little bit here because I don't want to hamstring them, building a huge park for 42 of the townhomes. But at the same time, like I said, I don't want to just keep proving one-offs and then we end up with
also, one of the conditions in the PUD report that was agreed upon was that concurrent with the construction of the apartments, which are the first phase, that the city would work with St. Joe to provide a 4-acre approximate, doing some math here. I think it's a little over 4.0 something acre expansion to the existing boat ramp parking area. So that would also count towards that public park. In addition to the existing boat ramp area being provided, we are proposing a 4.0 something acre expansion to that area for recreational and park purposes. So that is, I guess you could say that is in addition to the park within the phase 1 development area, that would be the quote unquote first phase of public recreational park area that would be accomplished in the planning and development.
And tell me again when you think the apartments would start?
We're optimistic that we'll get started on the site development this summer.
Okay. Then maybe some language could be that we would approve it subject to the boat ramp being expanded with the apartment phase. Understanding there's no parks with this space.
Does this include all of the townhomes?
It does not.
Okay.
No, there are future phases of the townhomes. So this is just phase 1 of the townhomes. There are 2 additional phases of townhomes that are planned, over the 20-year life of the planned unit development. Obviously, the most immediate adjacent would be, this being the first phase, and then the second phase would be to the north of that. But that is per the schedule that's in the approved HUD. That is a 2021 for delivery of development plans.
Yeah. Well, maybe rather than mess it all up like that, it's just, we're sending a message back to you, the apartments aren't applying for boat ramps expanded as part of that. Catches that.
I believe that's already been monumentalized or memorialized. That's probably the word for it.
Plan for that.
In a previous authorization as well.
What is the expansion of the boat ramp? What was decided?
They're providing additional land
Okay.
and then extending the lease an additional 10 more years on phase 1.
Okay, but not extending physically the boat ramp itself.
No, the parking area, not necessarily the number of launches, because we couldn't necessarily make any tangible guarantees subject to, Army Corps of Engineers, Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Fish and Wildlife. Those agencies would kind of dictate what can and can't be done. So we didn't want to make any tangible guarantees that may not happen due to regulatory agencies.
But again, we go back to the entire project of your project and then the other 166 it's building back in there using the same canal, access, boat traffic, boat ramps. I could see a real problem down the road when you have your project, I forgot who the other builder was, but you know what I'm talking about. All accessing that one small area. Because it's small. I mean, if you were there this weekend, you know how small it was. We had trailers and cars parked all the way out to 98.
It's going to be a situation.
And it's going to be a problem.
I parked my boat, I launched yesterday and I went out. And it's evident every time. Our canal is very narrow. It's barely do on this?
Approve.
To approve or deny the development order strictly the townhome component.
You know-
Apartments have already moved forward.
Are we gonna read Lisa's, comments
Yes,
about this?
please, and actually, I had mentioned to let staff.
Okay, we can get staff comment first.
On the trees.
On,
Trees.
I don't know anything about. the
Lisa's
trees.
comment was valid. There are protected tree species, sand oaks, scrub oaks, I call them.
Mm-hmm.
So, her comment was basically, has anybody looked at the trees? Has there been a tree survey to see if there are any of these protected species on the townhome portion in particular?
I haven't seen, any of the comments, but, we typically do an environmental.
Well, we did an environmental assessment in terms of wetlands. I'm not positive that a tree survey was part of that in the uplands.
Okay.
I doubt that it was, because the sand oak is not growing in wetlands
No.
specifically, so.
Right.
But typically, somewhere along the way, there's a threatened and endangered species survey that, would have probably picked that up.
Yeah, she's asking, I think it notes in here that it's a protected species.
You know, that protection, I think, comes from our own LDR.
It does, yeah.
It's on page 4-8 of the Land Development Code. And it talks about the replacement for each of those trees, because those are protected trees within that code.
Yeah.
So the question is, are you gonna have a plan, a tree plan, in regards to this protective,
We will, do whatever we need to do to meet the code. We're not asking for any variance on that, we're not asking for any, mitigating measures or anything at this point. If it's something that's called out specifically in the code, then, our intention is to be compliant with that.
So that means at some point you will present to us what you found out about these oaks and where they are and the replacement.
Yes, at some point we will get somebody out there to do a, oak survey and figure out if it's the, same oaks as in the land development code and what we need to do to accommodate that.
What's that building permit thing or something?
That's a development order thing.
This is Bill, I saw a letter, and I apologize if I haven't talked about this, it's up here. Egress and egress, 42 units, one enter. Can you comment on that, please?
They talked about it earlier on, it is a completely separate entrance from the apartments.
Right, but is one enough for 42 units?
I mean, we have leaving, it's one access road, but leaving the development, we have a dedicated left and a turn, left and a right turn lane, going on to 98. And we are in the process of, going through the DOT driveway connection permit for this development on 98. And any requirements that they have as far as dedicated right turn lanes, entering, or, if any kind of improvements are required for entering from the west end, those will be addressed with the DOT driveway connection permit for Highway 98.
Thank you.
single lane?
Any other comments? Mario simply needs a motion.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Ms. Metcalf?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Driver?
Yes.
Mr. Masters?
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Is there any miscellaneous, or is that it?
In our next city council meeting on the 12th, just making sure there wasn't something in between, we will have the second reading of the townhome land use so that we can have zero lot lines within the high density residential,
Yes.
not particularly the
Not
low
low
density.
density residential.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Wait a second.
Oh, wait, that's all right, Bill.
I don't know if you hear me or not.
We can hear you, we can hear you.
Laura has turned in a resignation. She's gonna have to leave the board. We're gonna miss her. She's been a great addition to us and a great help in future well. Obviously won't qualify because she's, potentially moving out of town, partially, going forward. So, we wish you well, Laura. Thank you for all your volunteer help. That also, the questions throw out. And now, hopefully, that we need another board member. So, please talk to your neighbors, keep your ears open, and, just throw one out.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Neil. And thank you very much for her. She was the trooper that came in at the onslaught of the whole COVID thing, and
It was.
without her being here and then making, 2 more phone calls, we might have missed that first meeting, and it was crucial because it was the next step for something else. So again, I appreciate what everybody does. People really and truly don't understand how much work goes into the planning board. I know
I'm sad that I have to leave, I'm sad.
even if we doubled your pay, it still wouldn't cover
No.
what you guys do. So
No, fair
thank you
enough.
from the city side.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Laura. I was going to speak up, but Bill did it for me.
Thank you, you're welcome, sweetie.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Have a good evening.